Hey, it's Dave from Preston. So I'm gonna show you a little something kind of cool that maybe will help you out. We have I have a customer that brought me a multi-scale.
Are you experiencing severe mental anguish?
And he wants to do the bass 6 setup on it, which is basically going an octave lower than normal guitar tuning. So to do that, we're going to go with a .095 string on top. That's what he brought us. That was his decision to do, which is a bass string. It's a heavy string, and normally it would be fine. I had to redo the nut and things like that, and we made our adjustments to make it work. The problem comes in when we run it through the guitar tuner, because it's a regular. It's a baritone. I may have said multi-scale. I didn't mean multi-scale. It's a baritone guitar. So it has guitar tuners on it, regular guitar tuners. This string just fits through the hole in the tuners. You won't get anything heavier than this through those tuners. They're locking tuners, so it's fine because it's just going to go through and literally get half a turn maybe on the string. However, the problem comes in when that kinks this string, because this string snaps and the outside winding snaps. So what we're going to need to do is either replace this with a set of strings meant for this, because they actually sell, there's a couple companies that actually sell strings meant for the bass 6 tuning, and they have different leaders on them for after the nut, so that it winds down to a smaller string to wrap around the guitar tuner. We can do that with this, and this is just an extra piece of string that I have, but it's the same gauge and everything, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's relatively simple. You can do it with common tools, and I'm going to show you that. A Sharpie, pair of cutters, and I use, you're going to need some CA glue, super glue, and I like to use a piece of heat shrink because it makes the final product look a little nicer. But you don't technically need that. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to bring the camera a little closer so you can get a better look at what we're going to do here. And I'll bring the guitar in for a minute, and we'll show you quickly how I would measure after the nut so you are sure you have enough string. And then we'll show you what we're going to do to make this work. Okay, so here's the actual guitar. Let me just get some towels down here so I don't ding it up or scratch it. Here's the actual guitar we're going to do this on. So what I would do is run it through your bridge and everything just like normal, like you're getting ready to tune it. And this one has locking tuners, like I said, so we know exactly where the string is going to fall. If you don't have locking tuners, take into account how much string you're going to need extra. I always, when I go to tune or when I go to string and I don't have locking tuners, is I account for that extra string kind of by, it's just kind of, I don't know, it's my own hand movement, but that gives me enough for 3 wraps. So however you do it, account for your wraps. But wherever the string falls on the nut, and let's do this so we don't have to cut a bunch of string because my string's getting short. So let's say our string falls here, right? And this is fine for us because we're only going to need to get through that tuner just a little bit since it's a locking tuner. Now we know the string has to be thinner up here. We have to have the wind at the nut like normal. We can't unwind below the nut. So I know that I want this string to be unwound to, I have this whole area in here. That string is going to move up and down a little bit with tuning. So I'm safe to go midway in between. Make a mark. That's plenty of room for tuning up and down. So I made my mark so I know where I'm going to unwind to. And let me find it again. And I'll mark it all the way around the string just so it's easier to see for me. But you don't have to, as long as you know where. Then what I do is I take a little bit of CA glue, which basically is super glue, and just put a dot right where we put that mark. And let it, I use a thin glue, a thin CA glue, because I want it to soak through I have thin, medium, and thick here for all different uses. I even have colored glue here for different uses. But I'll use a thin glue on this because I want it to seep through the winds on the string. And then just kind of dab off any extra. And then I have a quick set for it. So I'll give it a quick spray, hit it with an accelerator so it dries instantly. And this way I won't stick my fingers to it. Okay, so we have the dab of super glue on it. And that's basically so once we unwind it, we're going to stop before the mark. And it just kind of helps keep the winds together. We're going to put some, at least I like to put some heat shrink over it as well. But I do like doing this because it just makes me feel a little bit safer as far as the unwinding goes. Now, this is the tricky part. So you're going to want to get a pair of, I use a little pair of needle nose pliers. And then you'll see if you get a close up enough look, there's a little, you'll see the winding hanging off, a little bit of a wire hanging off. You should be able to grab that with your pliers. You may have to kind of squeeze the end of the string a little bit. It may take a little work. But you will be able to find it. And when you do, now you're going to have to be careful because I think this is a good learning experience for video because I just grabbed both windings. You're going to find there's another string underneath that's wound as well. There's two windings on this string. So if you grab both windings, just be careful because you only want the outer winding. There it is. Now, hopefully the camera will pick that up and you'll be able to see both windings, maybe. I don't know. So what we're going to do now that we have the outer winding started is we're just going to unwind it until we get down to our mark. And then as you get close to where your mark is, just keep an eye on it. And if you get a little bit into it, that's fine. Snip off, and then what I like to do is go back because you'll have a little bit of a not a burr, but you'll have a little bit of your winding hanging off, and just carefully push it back in. Now that you have the burr pushed back in, we can take a little heat shrink, run it over the two ends, and heat shrink it. Just make sure you don't go too far down because remember your nut's going to fall in here and you don't want the heat shrink falling into the nut. You may have to trim your heat shrink down. Then this gives you your thinner wind here, which when you put this around your standard guitar tuner, which has a smaller diameter than a bass tuner, it'll kink like that and it'll start to wrap rather than cracking and breaking. And that's pretty much all there is to it.